So today our topic today is filling the skills gap and addressing the mismatches. What can educators do? And as you all know, oftentimes, like in Nigeria, there's always the conversation around the fact that there are no available jobs, and then there are times whereby you would even know that okay, jobs are available, but we do not even have the required hands to be able to fill these jobs. So today we are going to be looking at the role of educators in ensuring that we can fill the skills gap. And one interesting thing I really want to point out to every one of us is the fact that oftentimes one question that would keep asking ourselves is really, what's the skills gap? Like when people say there's a skill gap, what does this mean? Why do we say there's a skill gap? So I feel that for me, the first thing we need to be able to properly really talk about is that the skills gap is actually the difference between the skills that employers want as shown in the job advertisement. So you know, someone says, "Oh, this is the job," and a particular employer says, "This is the job, and this is the description of what I want in a prospective candidate," and then and those that are available, the workers that are looking for the job. So do these workers have the required skills that the employer is saying that he's hiring for? So that is what happens when we say there's a skills gap. And in Nigeria, we all know that this is very rampant. Like employers are looking for a particular skill set, but the people who are unemployed that are looking for jobs do not even have the skills needed. So today our conversation basically is going to tackle this issue, and I want to just make us know that one of the reasons why we are having this conversation is because if we look at our country, Nigeria, with the impact of COVID-19, we are asking ourselves that how can we better prepare our young people for jobs after COVID-19. And there's the statistics from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics that shows that about 40 million jobs were lost just because of COVID-19 alone. So how can we ensure that we can build back better after this pandemic? And this webinar is part of what we call the Future Workers program, which is an initiative that is being supported by the Open Societies Foundation and is in partnership with Nigerian Youth SDGs and then DRPC, who are our co-hosts for this conversation. And not to just take so much of our time, the first thing I'm going to be doing is to call in our panelists to introduce themselves to us. Our panelists are going to introduce themselves to us, and so that we can get to know them before we start the discourse itself. So the first person I'll be calling to introduce himself will be Mr. Shadrach Akpem. So Shadrach from the Nigerian SDGs, please can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself to us? Hello, Shadrach. Okay, Shadrach isn't on the call anymore.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Shadrach.
Hello, am I visible? Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are very audible. Please go ahead. Okay, while we hold on for Shadrach to be able to. Hello, Shadrach.
Can anyone hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Okay, great. I'm so delighted to be here. My name is Akpem Shadrach. I am a veterinary doctor by profession, and I am with the Nigerian Youth SDGs Network and the state coordinator for Benue City. I look forward to a very, very engaging conversation around this all-important topic. So thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Shadrach. The next person I'll be calling to introduce herself will be Miss Adekunbi Oyelade.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Adekunbi Oyelade, like Abraham mentioned. Thank you so much for inviting me for this important conversation. It's a conversation I'm extremely conversant with, considering the fact that I've run Nigeria's first internship placement organization, that is Shishewa, which is now a large youth serving organization based in Nigeria that provides a variety of employment-related training as well as support to young people and of course internship placements. So I'm just excited to talk about something I've been, working on for the past 11 years, and also to just share my experiences about the skills gap and what I think educators, need to do. So I'm excited about this whole program, and I look forward to sharing more conversations in the course of it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Adekunbi. The next person I'm going to call in will be Ms. Yemisi Ajeojo.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Yemisi. So I work as a business growth strategist by day. And at night, I am very involved in the community development space, promoting digital literacy, access to higher education, decent jobs, and business growth with digital tools with my social enterprise. So over the past 2 years, we've done a lot of work around enabling more young people have the right skills and matching them up with jobs. So I'm really excited to be part of the conversation today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Yemisi. And the last panelist that we'll have is Professor Funmi Osakinle. Good morning, ma'am. Please, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, good morning. I'm very excited to be here. I am Professor Funmi Osakinle from the Faculty of Education, Guidance and Counseling Department. And as a lecturer, we have turned out a lot of guidance counselors who are doing very well in their various schools where they are posted. And so the webinar, the conversation, I am very excited to be part of. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma. And then finally, I won't be moderating this alone. I have someone who's going to be joining me, Abraham Solomon. Abraham, can you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Abraham.
I am very happy to be co-moderating. I'm very happy to be co-moderating this section with Sir Joshua Alade, the coordinator of the Nigerian Youth SDG Network. I work with the Nigerian Youth SDGs Network, and over time, we have helped to develop the capacity of young people in that to help send them matches to the relevance of what organization need. We're happy to have our seasoned panelist, Professor Funmi. We're happy to have you. We're happy to have Yemisi. We're happy to have you, Shadrach. And we're happy to have you, Dr. Akambi, as well. So I would hand over to Joshua at this point as we progress to next thing on gender. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Abraham. So please, everyone, just a few house checks. One of the first things that I really want us to do is that if you notice that when you log on, like everybody's name is coming up as Aisha Hassim. I know Aisha is a very popular person, but today we are not going to bear her name. So what I need us to do is that go to where your name, so there's over around your name. So because you're on this conversation, you would be the first person at the top of the name chart. So what I need you to do is I'll go to the participant handle, the participant end, and then the top side, I need you to rename yourself. If you're using a laptop, there's a place that has more. So click on it and then you will see the option for you to rename yourself. So if you are joining in as a panelist, I will need you to kindly rename yourself. So that way it is easier for us to know who is who on this conversation. So thank you so much. Please rename yourself. Also, I can see Akpem Michael has renamed himself. So please let us all rename ourselves. The first thing I've been able to do is rename all of the panelists based on their introduction. So I'll need every other person to please rename themselves. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. You are amazing. You are making my job so easy. Yes. So as I said, like the as I said earlier on, the Future Workers Program is an education support program in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, with the aim of raising awareness on the impact of the pandemic on young people in the informal sector. And then when we talk about the informal sector in Nigeria, we're talking about something that oftentimes we call the, let's say, the blue collar jobs, people, skills-based people who use their skills to make to earn. So we're talking about people who electricians, carpenters, shoe cobblers, shoemakers, fashion designers, and etc. So these people, so we're looking at raising more awareness about the impact of the pandemic on them. And if for most of us, you know that one of the things that has been the center of this conversation during this pandemic is the fact that people say that they did not get enough palliative from the government, and it's really weird. And one of the reasons why this is happening is because oftentimes people in the informal sector, especially in Nigeria, they are not registered. Like nobody knows them. So if it's a sector that is, even though it is informal, but it's a little bit formalized, it would have been easier for the government and then well-meaning individuals to be able to provide a kind of support for them. And the reason why we are hosting this webinar with the topic filling the skills gap and addressing the mismatches, what can educators do, is for us to really look at the critical role of education in supporting people within the informal sector. COVID-19 has given us a very fantastic opportunity to look at how we can readdress the issues of youth unemployment, and how, if we can adequately invest in the informal sector, we can be able to create jobs while preparing young people with the skills needed to get and stay employed. And this webinar, as I said earlier, we focus a lot on guidance and counseling centers in secondary schools, how these centers can help young people navigate their career path with the support of counselors. And oftentimes, something that is rare in Nigeria is hosting of career fairs. And then we also try to explore how young people can seek to get skilled up in the absence of a counselor. So even if there's no counselor, somebody to guide you, what can I do? And then how can educators here be able to like provide us with the ways for us to address the skills gap issues. So not to take so much of our time, I would want every one of our panelists to open up this conversation with just sharing about their work in addressing the youth skills gap in Nigeria. Like, talk about your work. So for the first 2 minutes, I want you to talk about your work in addressing the youth skills gap, because it's very important for everybody who is joining this conversation to understand how diverse and the richness of the people that we have on the panel today. And to kick off the conversation, I'll be calling on Shadrach Akpem to share about his work. So please, Shadrach, you have the option to. Oh no, he has been made. Okay, yeah, I'm promoting him back to a panelist. So Shadrach, tell us about your work.
Okay. Good morning again, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here. I want to briefly say a thing or two about what I've been doing with my life for the past 3 years. youth empowerment, human capital development is something that has taken center stage of my life for the past 3 years. And for me, I've always held the school of thought that if we are going to effectively drive the economy of Africa, and I'm not just talking Nigeria now, we need to tap in our most important resource, and that is for Nigeria, not oil or any other natural resource to know about, but we human beings, and to be more precise, we young people. So 2018, I joined Mind the Gap, who's a partner with Google on the digital was that research suggested or confirmed the fact that there had been a really huge skill gap that was available across Africa, and you could see jobs that were there and then there were no persons to fill up because the young people or the people available didn't have the needed skills, and in this case, mostly digital skills to be able to fill up. So when I joined up, I realized that you meet young people and sometimes, you could now break skills into basic to intermediate to advanced. Those basic skills that will help you engage day to day was a problem. And it became a cause of concern and also a form of motivation for me because I saw that, okay, we had a lot of work to do, and good enough, the project at the time was meant to run and cover just for 1 million young people across Africa. But with the enormous success that was recorded, Google now expanded to cover 10 million and it's going to span up until 2022. Now, what that has meant for me really over these past years is what I'll be able to engage with young people, both in the formal and the informal sector, about youth corpers, job seekers, those who are actually starting their career in various sectors. And I've always had that experience talking to them. And one thing I always pick up at the end of the day is that there is still a lot of work to be done. Now, we are now hitting on a slightly different topic today where we're talking about mismatches. Now, at the bottom of the ladder is where we're finding a lot of young people when it comes to rating the impact of skill acquisition when we compare the Western countries and then we compare Africa. So, but interestingly, the digital revolution has created a very, very level playing field for everybody. So most times, all you need to begin your journey through the digital space is your smartphone and your willingness to learn. So for me, what I've been doing, and I'll be able to cover grounds, give or take 5,000 young people over this duration of time. And I also took it upon myself because when COVID-19 started, it came, no one prepared for this moment. And when it started, we realized that many people also had issues talking about going online to join Zoom sessions or Google Hangouts or Skype. A lot of persons didn't have the skills. The jobs that were largely done traditionally had to go under because there was no means to meet physically again. Those that made sales, those that succeeded were the ones that, were able to set up online platforms. And it also brought a burden to be able to see how as many young people as I was able to reach out to, teach them how they were able to, for businesses, take their businesses online, for corporate workers to be able to, use online tools to still continue working at any living. So my work basically has usually been around helping young people who are job seekers get the relevant skills they are going to need to be able to be employable. And for those who are in the business sector to be able to acquire the needed skills to effectively compete in the market and then make sales. So that's about the summary for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Shadrach. And it's like you have like a you played a very pivotal role in especially ensuring that young people are able to adapt during COVID-19. Thank you so much. The next person I'll be calling for 2 minutes to share about her work would be someone I really respect so much, Adekunbi Oyelade. Like I work with Sheshewa. I know that a lot of she's done amazing, and not to just say it, I just want you to tell us more about Sheshewa's work. I know that how you started from how did I even put it? I knew how it started and now how big you have become with an annual conference. Please, Adekunbi.
All right, thank you so much, Joshua, as well as Ibrahim, and also to all the panelists who are on this conversation. Like I mentioned earlier, Shishawa provides a variety of employment-related training and support. And we've been doing this for the past 11 years. It's almost going to 12 years in the making. I started the company as an undergraduate in university, and my aim or my mission was just to help young people develop their or improve their employability. And one important way that we thought was very important to pass this message on or to develop this employability like we wanted to was through internships. We felt internships are an important, valuable way to help young people find who they are as individuals, as well as to contribute their quota into developing themselves, as well as understanding what the world of work really looks like. And with internships comes a lot of conversations around about the labor law, what exactly are provisions concerning it, how much should interns be paid. It's been a long journey since 2009 till now, because in 2009 there were not a lot of conversations around internships as we know now. So I would say that my company has been pivotal to helping young people understand the value as well as the importance of that word, as well as helping the word internships do the work that it's supposed to do within the Nigerian community. And beyond that, we've had a lot of conversations as well with thousands of young people. Over 300,000 students have we reached throughout the course of our work past 11 years. We've been able to provide direct internships as well as job training support to over 3,000 young people within Nigeria. So the combination of our work has a lot to do with the people who are mostly within the university system. That's the bulk of our work. Most of our recipients are college educated, whether they're in school or they're out of school. We also have people who are within the secondary school. But one important aspect of our work is the introduction of apprenticeships, just to promote the blue collar industry and to give them a much more better entry into the world of young people, and how young people can be able to sort of embrace this kind of jobs, as well as promote the kind of opportunities that are available both in the white collar jobs as well as the blue collar jobs. So all of this work we continue to do. And like Joshua mentioned, we started the National Internship Conference in 2018. In 2020, we had the second edition, and the National Internship Conference has now become Africa Internship Conference, because we wanted to take the conversation just beyond Nigeria and to reach out to more people. So that's the bulk of work I've done through the past 11 years as well.
Thank you so much, Adekunbi, and well done to you and your team. Next person I'll be calling to share is Professor Funmi Osakinle.
Yes, I thank you for making me part of this conversation. Like I said earlier, I'm a university lecturer, and I've worked in the university for the past 15 years. What we do is to give lectures to students, research into problem areas in the society, and then we give lectures to people in town. So we are in town, we are in school, we are everywhere. Even as a counselor, who have trained so many counselors, we always visit them in schools to see how far they are doing, how well they are doing. And so we always have follow-ups for them. And not only that, the universities and colleges of education, polytechnics, have now included entrepreneurship courses in their curriculum. And this is one of the very great things we have been expecting them to do, so that after they leave school, they'll be able to have some trade in hand, whether hairdressing, whether tailoring, whether photography, and all of that. So this has given me a lot of pleasure to be here to come and discuss on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. And last but not the least, Ms. Yemisi.
Hello, thank you again for the opportunity to be here, and very exciting to hear about the work that other people are doing in their own spaces and in their own communities. So my social enterprise Circle Lab started in 2018 when I moved to Kwara State for my National Youth Service. So I'd never been to Kwara State before. I didn't know anyone there. A few months in, I realized that Kwara State had a lot of young people. So it has over 11 higher institutions. And with the NYSC scheme, over 10,000 young people come to the state yearly. But these people do not have a lot of opportunities in terms of job opportunities. And something that has always helped me is digital tools. So I feel like if I have my phone or my laptop, I can always be productively engaged to make money for myself. And I noticed that a lot of people, a lot of young people in the States did not have this knowledge. And so I wanted to put together an event which brought people in various industries together to come and talk about how people can use digital tools to acquire relevant skills, get jobs, or grow their businesses. So this was the Learn Digital Summit. It took place in August 2018, and we had over 600 people in attendance. And people were just really curious as to this has never happened in the States before, and that so we had people coming from different places. We had people coming from Lagos, from Osun, from Ogun State, so neighboring states, and it was just, oh, this has never happened in Kwara. And I feel like that was a very landmark event, because then I still get people sending feedback even today, talking about how that opened their eyes to more that they could do with their life and to even explore other options. So for me, that was just going to be an event, educate people, move on. But I felt like after that event, I started spotting more gaps. So I started meeting young people who were coppers like myself then, who did not know how to use Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel. And the thing is, not having these very basic skills automatically limits the kind of opportunities that you can get. So I started organizing career accelerator trainings where we just taught them very basic skills that you needed in the workplace. So how to use Microsoft tools, how to acquire soft skills, how to write a CV, cover letter, and so on. Then we partnered with a Facebook trainer to train business owners on how to use digital tools to grow their businesses. Because the way I think about it, and even last night I was thinking about this as well, if we say we want to improve access to decent jobs, we must understand that there will be no decent jobs if there are no thriving businesses. So if businesses do not have the structure that they need to grow, if they do not have the resources and the knowledge that is necessary for them to grow, then it would be almost impossible for jobs to be created, and jobs that enables people to earn well and improve their standard of living. And one way that I can support businesses grow is by introducing them to digital tools and teaching them how to use digital tools to grow their businesses. So somebody has been doing business in Kwara State forever. Now they know how to use Facebook and Instagram, and they're able to send their products to other parts of the world. This would definitely create opportunities for more people to work with them, because now they have more revenue, they have more orders, they have more customers to serve. So we started working with both businesses and students, recent graduates, core members. A lot of people, quite a number of people started approaching us as well to organize community projects. So they will say, oh, we want to do this, and we'll just give you the funding. You carry out the project and maybe share reports and so on. But a lot of these projects were around improving access to education, in decent jobs and growing businesses. So over the past 2 years, this is a bit of what we've done. So now we're looking, or we're slowly moving away from just Kwara State to doing work around the North Central. So just really spreading this ripple that we've created in Kwara to other states within the North Central. We also recently opened a community center in Ilorin as well. So it has office spaces for micro businesses, and we do a lot of trainings as well. And then we try to match people up with jobs. So in a nutshell, this is pretty much what we've done in the past 2 years.
Well, thank you so much, Yemisi. That's a lot. Well done and congratulations for what you and your team have been doing in Kwara State, and
Thank
you
you.
move to the north. Yeah, so that sets us right straight into today's conversation, talking about filling the skills gap and addressing the mismatches. What can educators do? And I'm sure that for everyone who is on this webinar, you would see why we've been able to get this the lineup of speakers that we have, because they have shown how well that their work is actually not just filling the skills gap, but they are also helping to address the mismatches. And then I'll just move on straight into the first question that I have for our panelists. And the question would be this, that it is evident that the skills gap challenge that is present in the young Nigerian population is evident in the population of Nigeria and in our workforce. And what systems can schools place? Like what can schools do to better redirect secondary school students in picking the best skills for them early in life? So I'll take the question again. What system can our schools that starting from secondary schools put in place to ensure that learners right from secondary schools are able to pick the best skills that they need early in life? So I'm going to be asking these questions to Ms. Adekunbi.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, when it comes to secondary schools and when it comes to careers, one of the things that educators can do is expand the repertoire of careers that are available. One of the things that we are lacking as a country or as a people is we do not have enough workplace information system. Sometimes it's called labor market information system, which gives you like a summary of jobs that are available, of kind of work that is missing or that is top in demand. And all of this kind of information is, even though you cannot find it in one specific place, you can find it across experts who work in these fields. So one thing that secondary schools can do is just to expand this conversations to the young people. One of the things that I've learned going forward is that the most important individual when it comes to the future of work, when it comes to work, is the most important stakeholder is the individual. The most important stakeholder when it comes to careers is that individual. So giving a lot of power to people to be able to make well-informed decision is at the top echelon of whatever it is that we're going to do. So providing a wider array of careers in terms of what exactly these careers are, where do they function, what kind of work does it come to, what kind of people come out of it, having these conversations, whether it's through a virtual career fair or a virtual career counseling session. It has a lot of power, it has a lot of potency to be able to help young people to expand their mindset around these topics or different careers that they may be wanting to engage. For example, I had a conversation with someone who is a young person. I went to speak at a secondary school, and at the secondary school, she told me she wanted to, I asked her what she wanted to be when she wanted to grow up. And she said she wanted to be a philosopher. As sweet as that sounded, because I spent my first year in philosophy, I was just interested in that conversation. And I had a conversation with her and she said, okay, why do you want to study philosophy? And she said, okay, see, I have my sister, and she couldn't really explain why. And I started to pry more and say, okay, why? Do you have any sibling that is currently studying philosophy? She said, oh, yeah, that's my elder sister is in philosophy. Yeah. So one of the things that influence career decisions are the things you know, the people around you. If the auntie that comes to your house wears lovely skirts and jackets, and she's a banker, there's a very big likelihood that you're going to pick up that thought as going to be your career, that your career pattern. So you need to expose people to knowledge that helps them to make better informed decisions. And so we need to do much more than what we're currently doing, especially because there are so many jobs currently within the Nigerian hemisphere that is not what we used to know as the top 5 jobs. If you're not a banker, you're not an educator, or you're not an engineer, or you're not an accountant, all of those jobs are quietly becoming different kinds of jobs. There are so many new skills. There's digital marketing now. There's a lot of focus on artificial intelligence. We need to bring more of these conversations within this younger people. The earlier we reach them, the better for us.
Thank you so much, Ms. Adekunbi. And I'm posing the same question to Yemisi. And the reason why I'm asking you to answer this, to speak more to what Adekunbi has said, Yemisi, is because of the work you do at Critical Lab. How do you feel that, looking at the gaps that has in the market right now, how can educators be able to ensure that young people, especially looking at the example that Adekunbi gave about someone who wants to study a course because an elder sibling or someone she's looking up to is actually in that, and how can we ensure that students are better placed to be able to seek out roles that is need-based right now in our schools?
Thank you so much. I think that I think it is important that even the educators themselves are aware of the changing job roles and the changing job opportunities. Because at the end of the day, you can't give what you do not have. And so educators need to be more aware of how the job system is really changing. And so jobs that were very popular 10 years ago may no longer be in existence the way that they are now in the next 10 years. And so with that knowledge, even when you teach or when you counsel, it is from the understanding that we're in a changing world. So people get money now from being podcasters, and from being social media influencers. These were not exactly things that existed the way they are now 10 years ago, and the world is continuously evolving. So it is very important that educators are constantly educating themselves on the various the changing job roles or the changing work system, because then this would influence how they share or how they counsel or how they teach their students. I really like what Mrs. Adekunbi mentioned regarding you most likely want to be like the people around you. And so I think exposure goes a long way in shaping young people's ability to fill existing work gaps. So who are they being exposed to, either on social media, on TV, or even around them? And I think what she's doing in terms of apprenticeship and internship is very amazing, because when you do, I feel like internships and apprenticeship really shaped me, and all the volunteering opportunities I had really shaped my passions and the things that I work towards or want to achieve in life because of the things that I saw around me and the things that I saw people doing around me. So yes, counseling, internship, exposure will go a long way.
Thank you so much, Yemisi, and I quite agree, because for me too, growing up, I'd always wanted to be a medical doctor because I had people who I looked up to that were medical doctors. But it was when I was later on, I just told myself, no, I'm not becoming a medical doctor anymore. So the people around us actually shaped the kind of career that we want to look up to becoming. And I agree that educators need to really understand that the job scene is actually changing, and then they need to get updated to understand what the market requires and how to prepare people right from secondary schools to understand the demands in today's changing world. So moving on to our next question, and I'll be asking this question to Professor Funmi and Mr. Shadrach. You know that in most parts of the world, there's this availability of guidance and counseling centers, and then there are job fairs, and that these have really helped young learners to be able to acquire skills that are relevant. But in Nigeria, this does not seem to be the case. Like, we don't have enough guidance and counseling centers, and then it's very rare to have like job fairs. So one of the question I want to ask is, do you think that this is the reason for the skills mismatches that we currently face, Mr. Shadrach?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, that is part of the problem. To go further, say that there has really been this really huge gap between what the job market needs, what the universities are actually churning out on a yearly basis, and to a larger extent too, the awareness or the level of awareness of young people who are in the job market versus the realities that are obtainable in other parts of the world. Now, when you go to secondary school, as I remember a couple of years ago for me, I don't remember, I can't vividly remember a one-on-one session where my GNs, that
Okay, Mr. Shadrach is no longer on the call, so I guess he's having issues with internet. And then the next, so let me just ask Professor Funmi, so we know that guidance and counseling centers in Nigeria is very rare for you to have a G&C center in secondary schools. Do you think that this is the reason why that we're having these skills mismatches today, and the skills mismatches are currently faced? Do you think there is the absence of guidance and counseling that this is happening? Professor Funmi, you need to unmute yourself, ma. All right, Shadrach, please, can you go on? I see you.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, yes.
Hold on.
Okay.
Please go ahead, ma.
Oh, okay. I said, I don't think the reason why we have mismatches in unemployment and all of this is because we don't have counseling centers in our secondary schools. In nearly all secondary schools in Nigeria, we have counselors, guidance counselors that are posted from the Ministry of Education. And even though they are supposed to have a room to themselves and to take counseling activities very seriously, because usually they don't give them any other subjects to teach. But if the students are not forthcoming, and the student and the counselor, who is supposed to be a kind of parent institute, is supposed to be able to know what he's supposed to do, to be able to make sure that these students have the correct guidance relating to what subjects they are supposed to combine to be able to give them whatever courses they want to take. And this is very important because to know exactly what they want to do, particularly if they have a parental influence. His father is a medical doctor. He wants his son to be a medical doctor. His father is a lawyer. So they may not be able to know exactly where to go. So it is the work of these counselors that they are supposed to have career placement for them. Like if the counselors are supposed to know their abilities, and they are supposed to have records of all of these students from GSS 1 to SS3 to be able to place them accordingly and with the areas of their interest, their ability, and their aptitude. Because if a student, you say you should go to a commercial class and he's not interested, he wants to be a science student and he's good in all of these science, both science and commercial students, he will not do his optimum in the commercial class you have placed him. So their interest and their background needs to be known before the placement can be correctly done. So in the absence of career counseling centers in secondary schools does not really make for the employment. We, in the university where I work, we have two centers, two guidance counseling centers, one for the university and one for the Department of Guidance and Counseling. So even when people have issues, they come from town to the campus to come and see the counselors there. So I don't really see, there's no reason why we want to say that it is lack of guidance counseling centers in these primary schools that is causing, that is making them have a gap in mismatch and all of that in their skills. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Ma, and quite an interesting take. I'll call on Shadrach to speak, and then Yemisi. Shadrach. Hello, Shadrach. You need to unmute your mic. I think Shadrach is having issues with internet. Yemisi, so Professor Funmi said something very interesting, that it could be because of parental influence. That is why young people are scared to like even take the advice of guidance and counselors. And one of the things I would say for myself is that when I was in secondary school, there was no guidance and counseling. In fact, we had teachers who would tell you, what was your score in maths? And when you say your score in maths, they will just tell you, okay, you go to science class. What was your score in biology? Go to science class. What was your score in English? Go to maths class. That was the way our career path was actually kind of tailor-made for us. So yes, Shadrach, you're back online.
Yes. So
you have 2 minutes to speak on.
Yeah, very quickly. I was saying in principle that is correct. Or a counselor, it's like if I'm going to use the father figure in quote. So you're helping a young person or a teenager mold a future, and you need to do that with the person in mind. There shouldn't be a one size fits all, because we're talking about different generations. So the counselor is probably in a different generation to the person he's actually counseling. So understanding also the reality of the world that this young people are going to be graduated into is very, very.
Well, Shadrach, we are kind of losing you. The network is really not working for us. We
put people who are overqualified but underskilled. So, and that is largely the problem we have in today's job market. So that's my take.
All right, thank you so much, Shadrach. Yemisi.
Mr. Joshua was sharing about how they were trying to decide his career for him based on what he scored in subject, and I had the same experience as well. So I was really good with maths, and so everyone just assumed, oh, you're really smart, you're good with these difficult subjects that people struggle with, so you should be a science student. But I wanted to be art student because I wanted to study business in school. So imagine that I had just gone with peer pressure. It wasn't necessarily pressure from my parents. It was pressure from the school as well, from the teachers who knew you and saw how best you performed and just assumed that, okay, this will be the best path for you. One thing that has really shaped my interest in the community development sector and even the work that I have done in Nigeria over the past 2 years was working in a community center in the UK. And it also had a job center. So people of different age groups would come in and just get advice on jobs that they could apply for or skills that they could acquire, or just have their CV reviewed. And I feel like that goes a long way to really impact the kind of opportunities that people can access or even take advantage of, because now they have a better understanding. They have the CVs that they need. or they have the right skills that they need. And so that was one of the reasons why we even opened up the community center in Ilorin, because in future, that's what we're looking towards to do. So Professor Funmi is very right about saying, oh, right now, there are probably a lot of counseling departments in schools across Nigeria, but I'm not sure that students are made to understand the importance of these departments, or perhaps these counselors are not welcoming enough, or students do not feel comfortable enough to discuss with them. So I feel like if facilities and resources, because this is the first time I'm hearing it, and I feel like this is a key takeaway for me from this session, that there are counseling departments in schools, in secondary schools across Nigeria. So students should be made to see the importance of this, and perhaps this unit should work with other organizations involved in improving education across Nigeria, just to increase awareness of their services and the importance, especially in this age of a lot of options for students to decide.
Thank you so much, Yemisi. And so when I really agree with you, and I think also feel that what Professor Funmi is saying is really very important. So oftentimes, like for these centers are there, but most young people do not even know what a guidance and counseling center is all about. And maybe another part would be that the guidance and counseling, the counselor there is not even warm enough to get the perspective of the learners. In some schools, they are absent. They are really absent in some schools. Like in my own secondary school, there weren't counselors. But right now, maybe it's changing. I need to check in on this, and then we'll see how we can really make sure that guidance and counseling is really pivotal in our young people deciding the kind of career choice they want to take. And I'm looking through the chat option, and Blessing Ubemi says that she can totally relate with the department distribution for secondary school students. Not all schools have guidance and counseling units, and the few ones that don't create awareness about the importance. So this question, and I'm going to be asking, based on what Blessing has said, really creating the awareness about the guidance and counseling, like how important it is. How do you think that counselors can really, how can they relate more with students to really value them? Because counselors are supposed to be, after your parents, counselors are supposed to be the next persons you look up to for career advice. How do you, for guidance and counselors on this call, how can they better relate with students right from secondary schools to make the job easier?
Where are you posting the question to?
To you, ma.
Oh, okay. The question is that how
yes, ma.
They could, what advice can you give counselors to encourage young people to approach them? And the
yes,
counselors the counselors are supposed to be parents in schools. And there's no school in Nigeria that does not have a guidance counselor as I speak with you. The only problem counselors have is that the principals of these secondary schools see them as rivals because they are supposed to have well-furnished offices, and they are supposed to see these students intermittently because of the various problems and the issues these students are likely to have. More so, the counselor is supposed to be friendly with these counselors, with these students, because one is supposed to have their files with them, with him or her, supposed to have their files with him, follow their academic performances, make sure he organizes orientation for the new students, make sure he follows them up, whether they are sick, he follows them up. In fact, there's no other person that the students are supposed to like and be friendly with, if not the counselor, because it's solely in charge of the students. And because he's only in charge of students, he knows so much about them. Like, for example, when I was still in the secondary school, one of my students went and stole in the market. And so they caught him, brought him to the school. And so the principal said they should go and call me, even though I was not a counselor then. He said, but because I know these students, I know them by name, I know them facially. And so when I saw him, when I saw the student who stole, I said, this person has not been in school for the past 6 weeks. And so I will not say he's a very regular student. So if the counselor knows what he's doing, and the government of the state give them correct field, open hand, where they are supposed to do their work, they are going to do it exceedingly well, because better than these students, and he's supposed to be able to feed them and even report to the parents when the students are not doing well. And so he's supposed to see them academically, see them even spiritually at times, praise for them and all of that. And then even some of them, if the students might not have eaten for several days, you could use this money to buy food for them, so that at least they will know that, yes, when I get to school, I have somebody I can talk to. And so this problem of carrying long faces and not doing well in school will not be part of the thing the students should bother about. Friendly to see to the welfare and well-being of his students anytime, anywhere. During the day, they give them accommodation in schools, and she oversees them. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you very much, Ma. Like, I really love your take on this. Very important that counselors need to see themselves as first, not just teachers, but caregivers and parents to the people, secondary school students who walk up to them, and they need to make it easier for these students to be able to approach them. Because it's only when you are warm to students that they will be able to trust you with their secrets, and also trust you with their fears. Now I'm going to be moving on to on just talking more about this the skills gap, the issues with human resource managers saying that there are jobs, but they really struggle to fill these positions. How can educators address this skills gap challenge? I know that Ms. Adekunbi has spoken a little about career fairs, internships, which is something that she does at Sheshewa. But speaking more to this issue of addressing this skills gap challenge, how can educators help us in making sure that the transition from school to work is easier, and then when human resource persons are hiring, it is easier for them to find the right skilled persons for the job available? Mrs. Adekunbi.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to just, in addition to answering your question, I'm going to add more to what was earlier said. And I'm very excited that Professor Funmi mentioned about career centers, not career centers, guidance and counseling centers in secondary schools. That's the truth. They actually exist. And sometimes it's very easy to say, okay, these things do not actually exist, because it looks like, the results looks like, oh, these things do not exist. We all add a guidance and counseling person. The question is, how often did we visit those places? What was created in the mind of the student? How important is the role of that available person in the lives of the students? Yeah, so I definitely can come back to this conversation if there are any questions around it later on, but I will then delve into more about the question about human resource and what educators can do. Now, when we're talking about the world of work, when we're talking about the skills gap, you see that when we're talking about the people who work within this systems, that's the guidance and counseling, the educators, irrespective of whether they are professors, irrespective of whatever career it is that they're doing, every single person must be prepared to work hand in hand. When we're talking about what employers are looking for, they are not necessarily looking for technical skills. In actual fact, I always say, whether I speak internationally or whether I speak within Nigeria, I always say that this is the same school system I came out from. And I don't think, as well as so many other people, I don't think it is all so terrible in itself. I think there's just so much more we can do to complement what they're currently serving us. Is it in itself the most best educational experience? I do not think so. However, I think there's so much that they still give at this point in time. So in addition to what educators are currently offering, in addition to that, there needs to be an understanding that what employers are looking for and what is also what they are currently providing. I need educators to be aware of that. What do I mean by this? When we talk about employability skills, we're talking about skills that covers almost 8 areas. We're talking about, initiative, ability to be able to communicate, ability to solve problems, ability to lead yourself and manage who you are as an individual, an ability to plan and organize, ability to learn. And this cuts across different skill areas. So if, for example, I'm teaching a class of 5 people on social entrepreneurship, just for example, my job as the educator is to ensure that I'm passing the skills of problem solving to my students. What are they responding to me? What kind of projects are they sending in? If they're sending in projects, am I allowing them to use technology? Are they making presentations in classrooms? Are they able to use team? Are they able to work within teams? All the skills, most of the skills needed across work, not just in Nigeria, across the world, most of them are soft skills related. The issue of technical skills can always come up subsequently. Anybody can learn technical skills, but soft skills are very important because you have to develop them. So educators need to understand that it's not a one huge job that is required outside of what they're currently doing. In fact, the way that the curriculum is structured in a way to be able to provide all of these things. The question is about emphasis on delivering and ensuring that the people that you serve are able to produce this. So once employability skills become a natural inclusion of what you do on a day-to-day, it makes the work a lot more easier. So you can fine-tune your curriculum as an educator to be able to ensure, if you're going to teach people about something, if you're going to teach them about teamwork, you can let them play a game, you can let them work together, things that will ensure them working together in a, doing activities. If you're in a secondary school, it even makes it a lot more easier because the classrooms are smaller and the people within these classrooms are able to work together. They're still younger. It's very easy. They're much more sponges at this stage. Anything you teach them, they're much more able to adapt and to receive it. So when we talk about employability skills, these are things that can be addressed way earlier, and they can also be incorporated as single learning plans, or individually, where I can say, okay, today we're going to teach about problem solving as well as using initiative. I'm going to have somebody coming from outside. Accepting that you need complementary support is vital in these conversations. So I think when we take the conversation to educators as their work being important currently, I think it places a lot of rest upon them that they are doing a good work and they can then do more. So another thing they can do, in addition to the first thing I said, is to receive complementary support from outside. If, for example, the way that I would teach about something is not the way that somebody who's been teaching guidance and counseling for, like Professor Funmi, will be able to deliver on that. there are certain things that she may be able to deliver, and I may be able to deliver from the point of view of what people currently need in the outside place of work. But I can't deliver a guidance and counseling the way she has. She has over God knows how many years of experience doing it. But that complementary service that the two of us are able to provide can catapult what it is that we're trying to do, or what kind of experiences we want people within the school systems to have. And so taking that complementary help from people who are currently on the job, bring in the people from outside who can just have 30 minutes with the students to say, oh, my name is Director Kiniko, CEO of Nigerian breweries. This is what I've done. This is how I've done it. This is why I've done it. And people can ask direct questions. Sometimes these 30 minutes conversations have much more power to influence both the educator as well as the students. It helps the educator to grow, and it also helps the students to see things from different, a much more broader perspective. So these are skills that are will always be in top demand. They are skills needed for life. They're skills that are needed to help you grow within the job. They can be taught at any levels, and we can continuously ensure that it becomes a natural inclusion into everything that goes on within the school system.
Well, thank you so much, Adekunbi. Thank you, and I really agree with you. It's before this conversation, just offline, I was having a conversation with a friend, and we're just talking about that. Oftentimes, we need educators and also employers to really work hand in hand to be able to prepare young people for the jobs that are available. Because it's not like it's not a something that we can do independently or we can work in silos on. We all have to work together in addressing this gap. I'm just so excited. Like I'm going to be inviting Abraham, who is my co-moderator, to ask the next question. Abraham, over to you.
Sorry, I want to add. I want to chip in one or two things that stemmed out from what Ms. Adekunbi said. Yes, as a counselor in an established institution, a lot of our work, a lot of the works we do, we have what we call curriculum. And
yes,
so from this curriculum, if you want to introduce a new thing, your university or your school authority must have a hand in it, except during orientation programs for new students or new intakes anywhere, that you can invite a lot of people, whatever you want to improve. Then department university always has a week of orientation where a lot of people will be brought in, types of different fields of work and all of that. People, things that will interest these students will be brought in. And so, but when you talk of teaching and all of this, it is like go to class, talk and come back assignments, write exams and all of this. For any new innovation you want to introduce, you cannot just introduce it individually. It has to be approved through your HOD, through your dean, through to the Senate, and then the Senate, if they see it okay, they will approve it. So we really must be careful in all of these things we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you very much. Abraham, over to you.
Hello, thank you so much, Professor Funmi. We really appreciate all of the insightful discussion that we've had so far, especially with the rest of the panelists. I'm following the same trail of thoughts. I will ask the next question, which I would be asking Professor Funmi. And the question is, are counselors trained to give career path advice? Professor Funmi, do they have a kind of training that focuses on career advice that are supposed to be provided to students? And also, can you tell us if there is a kind of training that they receive, what is the quality of this training? And how intense is this training? And following that same thought, also, would like to know as well, how can counselor guide young people better in making career choices from the training that they receive? How can school counselors now be in a position to provide better career path guide to young people? Over to you, Professor Me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Counselors are actually trained to be able to give career path advice to their counselees. Before anybody can be called a counselor, we are not talking of social workers here. Before anybody can be called a counselor, he must have undergone 4 years program in the Faculty of Education in the Department of Guidance and Counseling. So there is nobody who will pride himself and say, I am a counselor. You have to ask him, where is your certificate? Where did you graduate and all of this? And if a student who has undergone these 4 years, before he finishes, must have gone to he must have gone on the practice to go on internship. Maybe we call it internship or practicum in secondary schools, where lecturers in the department will go and see how well they are faring in their schools posted, in the schools they are posted to. Then, as student counselors, they are supposed to be able to know how and where to get clients. What I mean is that you see somebody crying who just sits down, he should be able to ask, why did you lose your money and all of this? These are some of the things. They are supposed to have all these traits in them. And so career paths are part of the trainings you get, because the counselor is supposed to have three basic components. The counselor is supposed to know three basic components: educational guidance, vocational guidance, personal social guidance. And all of these guidance has specific things they do. Like this, we have appraisers, information placement, orientation, evaluation, referral, follow-ups. All of these things help the counselor to be able to place correctly a student in for future work. And apart from that, if a student is correctly and properly guided, and he has innate tendency, he himself is interested. There's what we call inner locus of control. If he himself is interested and he has the ability, the aptitude, and he has the financial backup, he's likely to do well in any area he finds himself. And more so, that apart from these courses we do, they still have other things, like I said, the entrepreneurial skills they teach them in 100 and 200 levels, that you still open them to other fields. And as a matter of fact, a counselor is supposed to have a teaching subject. So if he finishes counseling, he's supposed to have a subject he teaches in the curriculum. That's training. The training he has a good training that he himself must have done well in the exams and qualified to be a counselor. And I remember which other questions you asked.
How can the counselor be able to provide better career guide to the students?
Yes, he himself is a counselor. He will be able to get the results of these students, know where to place them, whether science, commercial, or art class, and from the results of the students, you'll be able to know where to place the students and be able to follow them up academically. Because if a student is placed in science class, after first time you discover that he came last in the class, the best thing for the counselor to do is to make sure he changes that person to a class where he will do better. So these are career paths that the counselor can place the students who are under him or her. Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Funmi. Thank you for making it clear that our counselors are people who give what they already have, haven't undergone intensive and long training. Okay, my next question is going to go to Yemisi. Miss Yemisi, I'm going to be asking you the next question, and I'll be asking Dr. Shadrach Akpem to answer this question. To Miss Yemisi, what are the skills that young people need to acquire today that will be relevant both now and for future job prospects? And I would like you to tie this question, I'd like you to tie your response around building back better and stronger for young people. Let me start with Miss Yemisi. Ladies first, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. So off the top of my head, I can think of about 6 different skills. Most of them are soft skills. And this is because I think with hard skills, you need to really examine the career or the job role you're going into and think in light of current changes and progress, how would this job look like in the next 10 years? But I studied management accounting, and what I've come to realize is when I tell someone in Nigeria that, oh, I studied accounting, they automatically think financial accounting, which is just, okay, crunching numbers and whatnot. But the way that I was taught accounting or management accounting was you have the numbers, and then you're able to use the numbers to make strategic decisions for the business. Whereas a financial accountant just has the numbers that is backward looking, and a management accountant has the numbers that is forward looking. And so you will need to ask yourself, so if for instance you want to study accounting in university, you need to ask yourself which one will be most relevant in 10 years time. The person who is able to create foresight and strategy, or the person whose job can easily be replaced with machines or softwares. Okay. Then for soft skills, communication is absolutely essential. So I think my friend said something once, if the person that is not able to communicate, no matter how good he or she is, would always have to deal with the crumbs, because someone who is able to properly articulate their value or the impact of the work that they do would always have a place at the table, compared to someone who does not know how to communicate either verbally or in written form. So communication is absolutely important, and it is very, very important that people learn how to communicate effectively with people, irrespective of who they are, what they do. And then digital literacy, obviously, like you cannot afford to not know how to use digital tools in this day and age. You can't afford to not know how to use a computer or Microsoft tools or social media effectively. So you need to be digitally aware. Is very vast. You don't have to know everything. You don't need to know how to code, how to do UI UX, but you need to know how to do the basics and then be an expert in a field that you choose to focus on. There is also adaptability. So something I get asked a lot is, oh, when you moved back to Nigeria, what was it like for you? Did you take a while to settle in? And something I've realized is, irrespective of where I am or where I moved to, it's almost like, okay, we're here now, let's just pick up and move on. And that's a very essential skill for a world that is ever changing. You need to be able to adapt quickly to environments and different circumstances as they occur. You need to be creative and innovative. You need to take responsibility for your own learning and growth. because the world is moving very quickly. Nobody is waiting around trying to hold your hand all the time. So it is important that you are taking responsibility for your own growth. You're not just waiting for any mentor or counselor to guide you. You're taking responsibility for knowing what you need to know and doing what you need to do when you need to do it. So yeah, I'm just going to stop there.
All right, Dr. Akpem, over to you.
Okay, Yemisi said quite a lot. So just to buttress a few points, we're in the digital age, and regardless of the job you're doing, if you cannot find a platform how you connect what you're doing to the digital plug, then you can be sure that you're going to go under. And we don't even need to go far to look at examples, because when COVID-19 happened, one of the guidelines was social distancing so that we don't increase, or flatten the curve. So what that meant was businesses that were thriving purely on physical contact had issues, right? But the businesses that were able to grow, and they were using Zoom. Now, if you looked at the stakes of Zoom before COVID-19 and after COVID-19, right, like they made tons and tons of money. So that is basically it. In the digital age, you cannot discuss success either as a corporate person or as an entrepreneur if you cannot find that bridge connecting it. And to also agree, adaptability is something that, regardless of whether and I tell people, you don't have to, everybody cannot be an entrepreneur, right? But you cannot afford not to think like one in today's world. You need to stop seeing problems as problems. You need to see them as opportunities. You need to see them as chances. Extremely important. And another thing that we need to learn too, as we work to emerge stronger post-COVID, is the need for partnership, right? So we need to agree that we have gone past the era of the celebrity status where I need to be the one to be in front of it. We need to agree that, okay, it's okay, I'm willing to take the backstage to make this happen. And that is exactly how societies are now emerging. Communities have realized that we need to collapse our efforts together. Friends have realized that we need to come together. Business partners, even organizations. So if we are going to look at emerging stronger post-COVID, if we are going to look at building back stronger, then first we need to accept that there's no way we can do that effectively if we cannot up our digital game. And the truth is, we cannot learn all of these things, but the basic skills that we need, to succeed, we need to be able to get them. And it could be as basic as setting up a good Zoom session, as basic as sharing documents on G Suite. It could be as basic as doing a Skype call. But most importantly, when it means you not being physically possible, the question is, will you be able to do it? So these things are important. And then when you also learn, you must be able to transmit that same knowledge to those who are around you, those who are with you, who you feel they need to learn these things to be able to succeed also in what they are doing. Because when you look at it, it's not in black and white. It's all in the space you're active in. And that is why you're seeing things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, all of those things are taking precedence now. Why? Because of the same thing I'm saying, the digital age is now taking over. So you must have a plug or you're going to go on that. So imagine me studying, say, being a typewriter now. I mean, I'm not going to find any relevance because that was like years ago, right? So what you're doing now, you need to know that if it doesn't have relevance in the next 5-10 years, then you're wasting your time. So we need to be able to emerge from where we are to where we need to be able to plug in. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Akpem. I really appreciate your point. Thank you, Ms. Yemisi, for having raised some very important points on the need for us. Both you and Dr. Akpem talked about the need for us to find a platform to connect with foresight and strategy. And I couldn't have agreed more with the both of you on communication and adaptability, because these two not only help us to articulate our value, but it also gives us an advantage to continue to stay relevant. And they have also spoken on the need for digital literacy and the need for us to use social media tools. Not that you should know everything about social media tools or digital literacy in itself, which is very wide, but having an understanding of the basic. It's very important and it's very relevant for today's world. And finally, you talked about the fact that we need to take responsibility for our own learning and for our own growth. I would link that up with partnership, working together to leverage on certain advantage that can help us progress together. I would leave the next section, the next question, to be handled by my co-moderator, Joshua Alade. I will come back later with more questions. Thank you to our esteemed panelists, and thank you to all of our participants and guests who have joined us. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Abraham, for those questions and beautiful answers from our panelists so far. We still have some few questions to go, and I'm looking through the chat right now, the Q&A button right now, and there's this very interesting question by Olumide Gbadebo, and he says, I believe a contributor to the skills gap is a lack of exposure to work tools at an early age. Can this be tackled with the introduction of summer jobs for secondary school students as state ministries or any organization of choice or a mentoring program? And so I want us to hold on with these thoughts by Olumide as it fits into the other question I really want to ask, which is talking about this World Bank report. I stumbled on this report. It was a report for 2015 that says that 4 out of every 5 Nigerian is self-employed. So, and how can we ensure that young people, especially from secondary schools, are better prepared to embrace entrepreneurship as a means of earning a living? I'm posing this question to Ms. Adekunbi and Ms. Yemisi. Looking at this World Bank report that says 4 out of every 5 Nigerians is self-employed. How can we now use this report as a means of ensuring that young people right from secondary schools are better prepared to embrace entrepreneurship as a means of earning a living?
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. That's a very pivotal question. Yeah. So just in line with what the question Olumide asks about summer jobs as well as mentoring. I agree with you about those two things. But from experience, what I realize is that we haven't done well as a country when we put formal caps on things. For example, when we put up a law like industrial technology for all industrial training for university engineering students. As much as those laws are very, very vital, we haven't done well in practice. And so I realized that sometimes you need to build the culture of something. When that culture is ingrained in students, the law becomes easier to manage or to implement. So this is what I mean. So when we talk about summer jobs and when we talk about doing that across all secondary schools, I feel it would be much more potent if we had, or powerful if we had companies open up more companies coming into being, like a Shishawa kind of company that creates those opportunities, helps companies to create structures within them that allows young people to experience it and for them to do these things without necessarily a law being behind it, for them to set up opportunities that allow young people to show up and to be able to gain the things that they want to do. I feel like once we're able to consistently build on that culture and practice, it's easier for people to understand that, okay, this is what I'll need for life, rather than just going to say we need to make sure everybody goes to do summer internships, summer jobs during the holidays and all that. Yeah. But that also doesn't mean that people do not need to do those things. Those things are so valuable. That's why you find people working within developed countries way earlier before they even finish school. Yeah, you know, a lot of people, once they're 18 years old, they just start to work. Some people's first job is when they were 15. Those things are cultures, they're things that we need to embrace now so that we can easily catch people young. Okay. Yeah. So and that this will lead me to the next question that that Joshua posed right now. I think I am very I'm a bit foggy with the question. Can you just tell me a line of it and I'll remember?
Okay, so the question is a World Bank report that says 4 out of every 5 Nigerian is self-employed.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
can we prepare young learners to embrace entrepreneurship right from secondary schools?
Okay, okay. Yeah, thank you. All right. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, it's something that gives me the most headache because you know, Josh mentioned something about the informal sector. The informal sector is one of the biggest blessings and curses of the Nigerian job economy, or even the economy as a whole, because you have a lot of people who are not registered, a lot of people who cannot even give taxes to the government, a lot of people who are not, you know, building systems that allow for entrepreneurship. And I really personally do think that our definition of entrepreneurship is extremely faulty. As much as if the ILO is looking at jobs, when people are self employed, they're actually tagged as employed when they're counting the unemployment figures. But when we look at entrepreneurship as we know it, we always look at it from very small mindedness. You hardly find people talk about entrepreneurship from the not like you hardly find. I don't like using those kind of words. It's better for us to have conversations about entrepreneurship from the standpoint of building systems and structures, from the standpoint of scaling, from this ground, from the perspective of this person being a chief executive officer of their own business, but not just this small size business, but as something that can stand the test of time, something that can be passed on from one generation to the other, something that can consistently live on itself, something that is separate from that individual, something that is different from them having a business and then being able to take money from that business for their own personal for their own personal things. We need to talk about entrepreneurship from that standpoint because these are the businesses that really transform economies. So I feel like that there needs to be a lot more done to the definition of entrepreneurship as we know it, to what exactly it requires about capital, about investment, about partnership. Just that definition itself, I think it needs much more power. It needs much more injection to what we currently help young people to understand so that they can see themselves as not just being somebody who is working within a place, but somebody who is working within their own organizations and providing jobs for thousands of people. So that's one thing that I think the proper redefinition of entrepreneurship, as well as helping young people, especially those within the secondary school, to see it as as not just an alternative, as one of the greater options when it comes to work. When we're talking about careers, introducing it as a very standard practice. I think it's very valuable as well. And we cannot de-emphasize the fact that allowing allowing partnerships within employers and the school is something that will always be in conversation. We need to put the two together. We need to not just allow educators to educate, but we need to allow them to educate in partnership with people who are practicing entrepreneurship, people who are practicing these things. And we currently have entrepreneurship in most secondary schools. I think the curriculums have been changed to include these
Yeah,
conversations. So they are already in
yeah.
existence. They just need to be, we need to create organizations like the ones that are here young people are running, the one that Yemisi also mentioned, she started the car state. We need to, these are jobs, like these are opportunities within these sectors. We need more companies, more smaller, more organizations, civic societies that will go on with the business of supporting what the government has put in place to support the work of what somebody is teaching as entrepreneurship within the schools, to be able to say, okay, can I provide, maybe support in terms of capital? Can I give 5,000 naira to, can I do an hackathon for secondary schools? Can I do something small for, where my investment is not even up to 100,000, where I bring four schools together, allow them to create a business, allow them to start the business. If you get what I mean, allow them to start a business within
Yeah.
the school. These are tiny little investments that not the government can do, but young small organizations can actually think of different ways of supporting what's currently put up as systems within these places. So these are skills that are so important. And my final point is to the fact that we need to see entrepreneurship as not just oh, you need to go out and start your business. We need to see the potential of failure as being so valuable to individual experiences. There's no way I will meet I was an entrepreneur from secondary school, so I know what I'm trying to say. I know the skills that I garnered, ability to be able to sell something. You understand what I mean? So it didn't matter if I was going to be an entrepreneur at the end of the day. The skills that I built up, the skills that I needed, they are what we are saying when we're talking about employable skills. They're also still skills that are so much in demand. So when we see this as this opportunity to also develop employability skills and not just about them, using it to work at the end of the day or to build up this big enterprise, it also helps us, get ahead and as well as get our head in the game as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Adekunbi, and I really agree with your points. We need to revision how we see entrepreneurship. I feel that entrepreneurship is not until you even start, you have a job of your own. If you are working in a place, you are employed by another organization. There's something that you should also see yourself as an entrepreneur even within that system. And that way, it helps us to even be able to build better businesses and long-lasting businesses. Because oftentimes people will tell you, oh, it's not even my own work self. I don't have to be so dedicated as I will be if it was my thing. But you must see it as your own thing for that business to scale. And most of the valuable learnings you are getting from that, from working under someone else establishment, can also be transferred to your. So, Miss Yemi, hello, Yemi. Yeah,
Yes, I can hear you now.
good.
Hello, I can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, the question for you is this, just speaking more to what Adekunbi has said, how can our secondary schools prepare young people to embrace entrepreneurship as a means of earning a living?
Yes, I agree with everything she said. There would not be much for me to add. I think definitely I was discussing with a friend yesterday and I said people who have solid work experience before starting a business, I feel like they set up businesses that are more resilient and more successful than those who have not had any previous solid work experience. You can even see it in the way they treat other people and in the way they manage things within the organization. So definitely when we create more employment opportunities, we're also in a way encouraging entrepreneurship because we're helping people build relevant skills that are needed for them to set up industries that supports the larger economy. Definitely access to funding, absolutely very important for businesses. So we own a social enterprise that provides collateral free loans and it's not like a lot of money, like money that tech startups in Nigeria raise, but it is money enough to serve as working capital for growing businesses, and it goes a long way. So access to funding definitely goes a long way, contributes to encouraging people to pursue their ideas and set up businesses. She mentioned something about civil societies and organizations doing what they can to support what the government is doing. And it was like she was reading my mind actually, because yesterday I was thinking about how the hub we set up in Ilorin, we had the owner of one of the biggest farms working from the place. And I remember saying that he feels like his business is more structured.
Mm.
And then in the past 1 month, he has employed, we've created something small that has contributed to his business. I created, and because his business is growing and well structured, more about the private individuals like self can just do really small things that create ripple effects. What have a role to play creating ripple effects in our communities that enable entrepreneurship and even employability.
Thank you so much, Yemisi. And then we are almost hitting the home stretch, and I'm inviting my co-moderator Abraham to dive in with the next question as we begin to wrap up.
All right, thank you, Sir Joshua, and thank you so much to all of our panelists. Thank you as we hit the home stretch to all of our participants. I'll be asking the next question, and the next question would go to, I would ask Ms. Adekunbi, Mr. Shadrach, Dr. Akpem, and Ms. Yemisi, the next question. And the next question is, recently we understand that the president of Nigeria, right, remarked that young Nigerians should embrace agriculture as a way of boosting food production, and this can help address the youth unemployment or the shortage of employment opportunities for young people. Now, to our esteemed panelists, beginning from Mrs. Adekunbi, please, what kind of program will you be recommending? What kind of program can you recommend that needed to be incorporated to take advantage of the manpower with a development strategy for young people? What kind of program would you be recommending, or would you recommend that can be incorporated for young people to take advantage of the manpower with a development strategy? Thank you so much. Over to you, Ms. Adekunbi.
All right, that's a difficult box to put something into one single program that can, if the solution was that simple, I'm sure that everybody would have gotten it. So I don't think I have a specific one program. I have a multitude of programs which all of us already know. And one of it is, so importantly, right on the top of things, is ensuring that we tell people that there's so many opportunities within this whole ecosystem, within this value chain, and try to create more businesses like Yemisi's up that she's opened, and try as much as possible to create so many more people who can be able to invest in different states and different companies. We need to invest in them. We need impact investors who will complement the work of the government. I am not of the opinion I don't know what the government can do anymore that they have not already done. I will be honest with you, when it comes to building structures, there's so much to support them. You will be amazed at how many educators are graduated every year. You'll be amazed at how much infrastructure is given to universities, how much infrastructure is given to industrial training. That's the people who do the CWES program. how much infrastructure, how much they're allowed to travel. Just in case you didn't know, they're allowed to travel for conferences outside of the country. They're allowed to do so many things. But we need people to support the capacity of these individuals to actually be able to deliver the work. So it's just like the teacher problems that we have in education, where you have availability of teachers, but they don't have the proper, sometimes they don't have the proper understanding or wherewithal to perform these functions. And so that's why you have a lot of teacher training colleges and teacher training, all of those things. As much as those things are great and some of them are very problematic, it just goes to show that sometimes you need to work with what currently exists, which is the availability of all of these structures, and try as much as possible to support them. Under this, we also need to expand the conversations around jobs, summer jobs. There's a lot of dependency that still goes on. People do not allow their children to go to work. Yeah, I've had those. I've experienced that myself, where we started secondary school summer training programs, and the students will go there for 2 days, and their parents would not just support them to continue because there's nothing on the burner. So we need to expand our minds to allowing our children to be independent, to grow up, and to be able to embrace summer training programs. We need to teach students, we need to teach the parents, we need to let them know that the most important stakeholder when it comes to education and the future of work is now that individual. And we need to open up these conversations. We need to talk about career centers. I really can go on and on. I don't think I want to. I think I want other people to be able to suggest what they're thinking in their minds. But I can literally write a book on all of these things that we're saying because I'm extremely so passionate as well as extremely knowledgeable about the things that I'm talking about. So yeah, so those are my thoughts. Summer training, summer camp, we've talked about it, mentoring, opening schools, opening no matter how tiny the school is, ensuring that they're really adequately conveying the messaging of this kind of conversations we're having. And I also want to use this opportunity to applaud a conversation like this, Josh, because it's so essential. We can never have too much of it. We need to continue having this kind of conversations to continue to help what's the current work that people are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Yemisi. I look forward to Madam Adekunbi. I look forward to reading that book of yours as soon as it comes out. I'll be anticipating. So over to you, Shadrach. Shadrach, could you give a response concerning this?
Okay, so it's not in doubt that agriculture is actually the highest employer of labor globally. Like when you add the numbers together, there's nothing employing more than agriculture. So for us in Nigeria, I hold the opinion and I always say this, that when you read at it, when you look at it, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Now, talking about agriculture, those of you who are actively playing in this space, and I am, it's something I'm really passionate about. You realize that we have a challenge now, especially in the animal sector, right? Where we are having challenges around poultry feeds. They're ridiculously expensive now. And the same for day-old chicks, they are really, really expensive. And the simple reason, really, well, probably not simple, but the reason a lot of the feed producers are saying it, they are run out of meat, right? So you begin to wonder, for a country that has over 80% of its land arable, I mean, what is happening? Where are we getting it wrong? And so I feel that it takes a lot of courage where we need to implement these things, and we don't need to look at it from one side. Of course, government's job is to make the environment favorable for others to play in. Now, and this now takes me back to young people, because we also need to take a lot of level of responsibility. And we need to tell ourselves that, I know we are a social media generation, but I mean, hashtags do not put food on our table. We need to be ready to get our hands dirty, right? So if we imbibe simple strategies like cluster farming, simple strategies like off-takers, and you don't have to, be everywhere. And we need to also explain agriculture to go beyond, planting, harvesting, rearing animals, slaughtering. There's a whole value chain to it. So it's first where we have that comparative advantage, and also to tell young people that agriculture doesn't have to be your full-time hustle in quotes, right? You can empower others to do that for you, and that's talking about partnership. And I believe that for us young people too, the Sustainable Development Goals has given us that platform where it connects everything together. So you need to look at the green jobs, you need to look at everything happening around you, and how best can you plug in? How best can you, who is that person you're going to reach out to be able to, leverage their strength to be able to, bring your resources together and get things done. So that's the angle I feel we need to look at. And government, it's important, they need to also make the environment favorable for these things to happen. And we're talking in terms of, now, a lot of these resources are released, but they don't get to those who need them. So we need to find out the blind spots where things are actually going wrong, fix them up. And for we young people, I believe we need to step up to these opportunities, because there's a lot of money to be made from agriculture. Agriculture is a business, it's not just a lifestyle. There's a lot of it. And I read a report about the amount of beef that is consumed in Lagos, and it's worth £1 billion on a daily basis. So you're slaughtering £1 billion worth of cattle on a daily basis in just one state. So when you look at these things, you realize that there's a lot of money to be made, and we don't have to, lie on our back. So I feel first, the young people, we need to explore more opportunities, smart agriculture, where we can also tap into the value chain. And for government needs to open up more, create the markets, because most of the challenges we have is wastages. They produce these things and they end up not making their way to the market. So we need to be able to preserve and all of those things.
We need to start rounding off. Thank you so much for your submission. So in conclusion, everyone, so what I want us to do, we'll have 1 minute, we have 40 seconds for each of our panelists to just give us one last statement as we round up this beautiful session. So I'm starting off with Professor Funmi. What's one last word for educators who are listening to this conversation, and for young people who are on this call? How can they help get the skills that they need to get employed, stay employed? And for guidance and counselors, how can they help young people navigate their career path? Just one word to wrap up this session.
Thank you very much. For people listening to us, the individuals that are involved in all of this or listening to us, that will partake in all of the things we have said, they are supposed to know their areas of competencies, where they have interests, where their aptitudes are. Then they are supposed to have skills that will make them function properly in their areas of interest. Skills such as listening friendly, open-mindedness, confidence, verbal and non-verbal. And then if they want to do this kind of work, they should be able to persuade people to support them and do the necessary things so that they can go to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Adekunbi.
Yes. I just want to say thank you to every single person who's here, who listened, as well as the people who organized the program. There's so much work to be done. Everything behoves on every single one of us who has a knowledge of this space to continue to work. Human beings are at the center of this conversation. They are different, they come from different places, have different backgrounds. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's different kinds of solutions that can help propel youth to become all that God has established them to become. So let's get busy, let's get the work done, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you so much, and you're welcome. Yemisi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've really learned a lot. Yeah, apart from just sharing, I think we all have a role to play in this conversation that we had today to support feeding the skills gap and improving education in Nigeria, and even for the growth of the country, and even to the growth of the continent. So that you have.
Thank you so much, Yemisi. Shadrach.
Okay, so very quickly, for young people listening, it's important we all take responsibility for our self-development, right? So in a world that is ever changing, your greatest asset is your ability to adapt in any environment. So coupled with that, learn partnership. It's important that in today's world, you cannot work alone, you cannot succeed alone. And for our educators, it's extremely important that we help nurture young minds, open them up to their personalities, and let's always remember that we cannot approach everybody using the same formula. We are unique in our special ways, and it's important that we realize that as we interact and as we help build each other.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Shadrach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yemisi. Thank you, Ms. Adekunbi, and thank you, Professor Funmi. And I also want to thank my co-moderator, Abraham, for this fantastic session. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined this call. And especially, I really want to thank the sponsors of this conversation. We really want to give a very, very big thank you to the team at JRPC. Thank you for what you've done in making sure that we're able to have this conversation together. And we also want to thank Open Society for supporting this conversation. After now, we're going to prepare a kind of a report on this, on what we've had today. For everyone who wants to rewatch this, listen again to this conversation, it will be on YouTube, and we'll share the links with you via email. And thank you so much, everyone, and make sure that you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 God bless you. Bye. Bye.